Managing Director of the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, Olubunmi Kuku, says the directive by President Tinubu to suspend the enforcement of the cashless payment policy at airport toll gates in Lagos and Abuja is a win-win situation. She said this will allow improvements before the policy is fully implemented. Senior reporter Yomide Ajegbe has more.
For several days, access roads to Nigeria's busiest airports were overwhelmed by heavy traffic following the enforcement of a cashless toll pay system introduced by the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria. At the MMIA in Lagos, long queues of vehicles stretch across major access roads as motorists struggle to complete electronic payments at the airport toll gates. The situation eventually drew the attention of President Bola Tinubu, who ordered the immediate suspension of the full cashless enforcement. Speaking with journalists, FAAN Managing Director described the president's intervention as timely.
The fact that the president is not just taking federal government initiatives or policy rollouts, but understanding the nature of every environment. He saw the traffic gridlock that we were having as we were rolling out the cashless policy, and in his good nature and understanding of our environment, took it upon himself to ask us to revert back to status quo or the hybrid approach. That's what we're doing. So this is a win for the industry.
She explained that the directive does not cancel the cashless initiative, but introduces a more flexible system.
And to be frank, we actually had at least 99% success with the cashless cards that were deployed. However, we did realize that it created a significant amount of gridlock, especially in Lagos. You would note that the location of the toll gate in itself is not necessarily ideal. And I say that because it's not just for airport users, right? Within the Lagos environment, you have other commuters who are either people working in the airport area or commuting to other areas.
According to the FAAN boss, the ultimate goal remains a seamless and efficient airport access system, even though no specific date was given for a full return to cashless system.
He did say a hybrid approach, which still allows users to potentially use their cards and also pass through the toll. But at least now, we will still be able to accommodate cash where it's applicable.
While travelers and motorists may now heave a temporary sigh of relief, they remain hopeful that the next phase of this policy will be seamless and stress-free as they pass through the toll gates. Ayomide Ajegbe, TVC News, Lagos.
Let's bring in General Secretary Aviation Safety Roundtable Initiative, Olumide Ohuayo, for more on this development. Mr. Ohuayo, thanks for joining us on the news at 10. The idea behind the cashless toll system was to modernize revenue collection and curb leakages, which many would agree is necessary. But in your view, where exactly did the rollout by the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria go wrong?
Well, I agree with you. The cashless policy is necessary, needed, and it's what's obtained worldwide. And there was no crisis at any other point apart from the toll gate in Lagos. And I think it was the area why what would have made that go wrong was that registration at the point of entry by the motorists, limited payment options, because at that time you had to go and pay stack and a green card. And that's phase transition. I would expect that what they are adopting now is what should have been adopted in the beginning to create awareness. Because I'm sure, knowing our cultural background, when they see those on the cashless queue moving quickly and you're on the cashless, you spend about 30 minutes, you begin to make yourself make arrangement for you to be on the cashless queue that moves faster. So I think that the first transition, the limited payment options, and that registration at that point, at the toll point, were those things that made that.
Mr. Ohuayo, Mr. President, indeed. Mr. President's swift intervention suggests that government recognized the gravity of the problem. But does this kind of policy reversal risk undermining confidence and reforms within the aviation sector in any way?
No, not necessarily. It's not a reversal itself. What is asked for them is for them to extend the time of implementation. And during that process, during this transition process, all the things we've highlighted, all the things you have discussed and all over in the building are supposed to be implemented. Hereby, you now begin to look at options. People cannot just be carrying one card, a green card in their pocket because they want to pass through the toll gate. There must be options. numerous options from the card system to the digital payments. All those platforms should now be opened up so that people can register. The people can use their phone. You use their phone, make use of the network of Glow, MTN, and others without necessarily having that card. Then the last another option is using the credit card of banks. Just tapping it on the machine rather than begin to put PIN number, because you cannot start putting the PIN number at the toll and waiting for it to fill. Tap your card and move. So I think all these options will be put in place within this transition period, so we will not have such crisis again.
It's at this point that you come to the reality that we still have a lot of work to do with going digital. We don't have the date yet, but government is saying automation and cashless payments are still the long-term goal here. So if this policy is to return in the future, what would you say would be the key things that must be fixed first?
Well, for me, we first have to deal with this complementary and parallel payment system through that gate, the cashless and cash. That must run for a considerable time, because some people will still not have access to it, especially those who use their drivers to drive past that place, and the driver doesn't know how to use card. So you must keep that road must be given. Again, we have a cultural problem. The federal government and the laws given, you still find so many people, the military, government vehicles, police, not adhering to paying. So they still want to pass through that area without making that payment. So such people should also be on that line. That key that is made for people that want to pay cash. They would not have to disturb those who are ready to flow through the system. And as we are doing that, we need to now begin to work on the different methodologies of payment. We cannot rely on only pay stack. We must open the doors for everybody. There are some people who will be coming from outside the country who do not even have a debit card. They must be able to use one of the especially that of the mobile phones to use for payment, and that should ease it. So I just open all channels of payment should be open for this program.
General Secretary of Aviation Safety Roundtable Initiative, Olumide Ohuayo, thank you for your insight.
Thank you for having me.
In other news now, President Bola Tinubu has announced the successful conclusion of a historic